you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to finally be doing the answers video to my Q&A. I am a few days behind on putting up this video, but that is because we've had some crazy days leading up to Christmas and the couple days after Christmas. If you follow me on Instagram, you guys will know that our hallway got completely flooded into our living room and into the bathroom and into our bedrooms from our washing machine. Our dryer was actually broken and they came to fix it, and when they fixed it, they bumped something and did something with the washing machine. So when they left and I started a load of laundry, it completely flooded into the hallway, and they had to come the next day and like pull up the carpet, put like these big huge fans in there, and everything got moved into the living room and into our bedrooms. So there was nowhere for me to sit down and be able to film this. So I just thought I would wait and put it to the side and not worry about it until after Christmas and all the chaoticness that comes with it, and get our house kind of put back in order so that I could film this. I asked you guys to leave me any questions you had for me on my video and that I would answer them in this video. So I'm just going to jump right into it and get started. The first question is from Ashley. She said, would you do a bow tutorial? And I would definitely do a bow tutorial. Let me know in the comments down below if you want my normal like one layered bow or my like triple layered bows with like the bottle caps on it. Let me know which one you want and I would definitely do that for you guys. The next question is from Amanda. She says, what was your best gift and why? And what was your worst gift and how did you get out of it? I think she is meaning what are the best and worst Christmas gifts I've got. So as for the best Christmas gift, I have to think about that. I think the best Christmas gift that I got was 3 Christmases ago, because Christmas just passed. So not this Christmas and not the following Christmas, but the one before that. So 3 Christmases ago, my husband went and got me a bunch of my favorite things that I had been wanting. He got me a new pair of Uggs and like my favorite perfume and just some cute shirts to wear. And to me, that was really meaningful, not because of the gifts itself, but because he actually paid attention to what I wanted without asking my mom or my sister. Like, he just completely listened to me and went out and bought the things that I had wanted. It's not really about us for Christmas. We like to keep it more about the kids. So that is what we normally do. But 2 years ago, he went out of his way and really listened to me, and it felt so nice, and I felt so loved in that moment just because he listened to me. As many of you wives know, sometimes we tell our husband or boyfriend or significant other things and it goes in one ear and out the other. So when they actually show you that they were paying attention to you, it's very, very meaningful. As for the worst Christmas gift I've got, I don't really think I have ever gotten anything that I didn't like or appreciate. Sometimes I've been given things that I don't necessarily need or wouldn't purchase for myself, but I know that the people whoever got it for me took the time to pick it out, to wrap it, and to give it to me. So I am always very, very appreciative of it. I am like the worst gift giver. Like, I'll admit, I am the worst gift giver. So that is why when someone gives me something, I am always super appreciative of it, because I know the struggle that it takes to buy someone a gift and wrap it up and give it to them. Next question is from Haley. She said, hi Alex, do you and Juan have plans to move into a bigger place eventually with the possibility of a new baby coming? And will you most likely be your last baby? Oh, and you've said Michelle Pearson is one of your favorite YouTubers. Me too. So what would you do if this time around you guys found out you were having twins? Haha, funny question, I know, but I had to ask. The funny thing is, I tried to sit down and film this video, and I read this question and I was like looking over it, and I didn't respond to it because my camera battery died, and I was trying to film in like this tiny little space right in front of the Christmas tree. I was gonna have to like crop some of our stuff out because we had it moved in from like the hallway and the bedrooms and the bathroom and like the dining room. We had everything pushed over. So I tried to sit down and film this video with like a tiny little space, and I read this question, but I didn't get to answer it because my camera battery died, which I guess is a good thing because the quality of that video probably wouldn't have been that good. But that night, I actually had a dream that I was having twins. Like, I'm not even pregnant. At this moment in time, I am 100% not pregnant, and I had a dream that I did get pregnant and was having twins. And I feel like I had that dream because I read your comment, but it was just crazy to think about it because you had asked it, and I felt like it was real life. I know it wasn't real life, it was a dream, but it felt so real, and I was like crying because I was so overwhelmed and so happy at the same time. So going back to the beginning of the question, do we have plans to move into a bigger space eventually? And the answer is yes. We are hoping that around this time next year or spring of the following year, so that'll be a little bit over a year, that we will be able to buy our first home together. It is something we have been saving for and working toward, and we still have a long ways to go. When you have a lot of kids and car payments and life payments, it's hard to like save up that extra money, but we are slowly working our way to that goal. A lot of you guys have asked in like other videos why we decided to renew our lease knowing that it was so small. For those of you guys who don't know, we do live in a 2-bedroom apartment, but we are really lucky because the apartment that we do live in, our rooms are super huge. We chose to renew our lease because we hate moving. I don't think anybody enjoys moving, but it's really hard in the area that we live, or even going back to the area where my parents live. It's really hard to find 3-bedroom apartments. You can find a 3-bedroom house to rent, but the thing with that is you're paying as much in rent. You're paying more in rent than a lot of my family members and friends pay for their mortgage. So it's kind of one of those things like, yes, we could have moved and paid more than we're paying now, but it would be really hard for us to save money because all of our extra income would be going to how much our rent would be going up. So that really didn't seem like an option for us because we do want to move and we do want to buy our house, so we just decided to stay and renew our lease, stay an extra year, and hopefully be able in that time to work our way to like getting on that track of being able to buy a house. It doesn't really matter if I do get pregnant or am pregnant when we move or have a newborn when we move, because we keep our kids in our room for the first year, so the baby would be staying in our room anyway. So this apartment would be fine for a short time when that baby would be little. We shall see what the future holds, but that is our goal, to sometime be able to move in the next year to a year and a half. The next part of our question is, will this most likely be your last baby? And the answer to that is yes. I'm not really sure if I have talked about it much in any of my videos. I'm not sure I have, but I had 3 C-sections. When I had my oldest daughter, I had an emergency C-section. I was very, very sick. I had pneumonia, and her heart rate would go from being in the low hundreds to being above 200, and it kept going up and down, and I was 36 weeks pregnant, so I wasn't at that point where they wanted to induce me and to have a baby, but because she was in distress, as they called it, they monitored her for about 6 hours. I was at the hospital for about 6 hours. I woke up that morning and I had been really sick and I hadn't been feeling her move like at all. So I called the doctor's office. They told me to drink orange juice or ice cold water, and to see if that moved and to call her back. So I waited like 45 minutes like they said. I called them back and I said I hadn't felt her move at all, so they told me to go in. I went into the doctor's office and they put the Doppler, I think it's called, they put it on my belly to check her heart rate, and it just skyrocketed. So they're like, we want you to go to the hospital to get monitored. So I went over to the hospital and they hooked me up and started monitoring me, and I was there for about 5 or 6 hours, and they came in and they're like, you're having a C-section right now. Like, we're already prepping the room. You need to pick who you want to go into the OR with you, and we're gonna do this right now. And I had a panic attack. I had a meltdown. It was probably one of the most emotional days of my life, I think. Like, in the terms of being scared, I think that was one of the scariest days of my life. I had her via C-section, and it went smooth. Like, the C-section itself was fine. I recovered fast. It was good. But I did get pregnant 9 months later, and I chose to go back to my same doctor, and he does not do VBACs. In the area that we live in, it's really hard to find someone that is willing to do a VBAC. I'm not sure if it's just California or if it's in the area that we live. I do know people that are like my aunts who have actually had VBACs, but in today's day and age where we live, it's really not recommended or common, I guess. So I did have another C-section and then a 3rd C-section when I had the baby. After I had Reagan, I went in for like my 2-week post-op appointment, and again at 6 weeks. And when I went in for my 6-week appointment, they asked me if I wanted to start on birth control or what I planned on doing. And because I was nursing and just talking with Juan, we decided not to do birth control just because it wasn't for us anymore. and I kindly rejected that, and they talked to me about having another baby. They said it is fine for me to have one more baby, but they don't recommend me having any more because of my C-sections. They said that every time you have a C-section and they cut you open and then re-stitch it up, it like weakens your uterus and you take the chance of your uterus rupturing when you are pregnant. It is a really scary thing to me, and if you guys are familiar with Allison Barr, I'll link her down below. She just had her third baby and she was going for a VBAC, and she had a very, very traumatic experience with it, and her uterus did rupture, and that is my biggest fear. Like, hands down, one of my biggest fears with having another baby is taking the chance of your uterus rupturing, because it does happen. It's not common, but it does happen. So that is my biggest fear. I think that's what changed my mind with deciding if I wanted another baby or I wanted 3 to be it, because they looked at me and said you can only have one more. So I'm like, well, they say I can have one more, I might as well just have one, get it done, get it over with, so my kids can all be closer in age and have each other to play with and grow up with and bond with. And the last question is what would I do if I found out we were having twins? When you're trying to have a baby, like in general, when you're trying to have a baby, it's a very exciting time, but when you actually see that positive pregnancy test, it's like time stops, and it's not that you second guess yourself, that's not it at all. It's that you actually are like, oh crap, like this is real, our lives are about to change. I feel like when you do find out you're pregnant, your world changes and you embrace it, and it is a reality check, but it's a good reality check. Then when you go in for your appointment and you're finding out you're having twins, that is like bam, another reality check. And I'm sure it's very nerve-wracking and emotional, and I cannot even imagine having that happen to me. But if God blessed me with 2 babies in one, I would just be so thankful, because there are a lot of people that have a hard time having one. I know it would be like a rocky emotional start, because your mind changes when you find out you're having one, but then your mind would change again when you find out you're having 2. But that being said, I would be happy regardless if I had 1 baby or 2 babies or 5 babies. I would just be happy, because every baby is a gift from God and they make your life so much better. Next question is from Marathon Bride. She said, are you hoping for a girl or baby boy? If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? And your clothes are always so cute, where do you shop? So for this one, I'll start at the end, the last question, and I'll work my way backwards. Starting off with where do I shop? I mainly shop at H&M, Target, and Old Navy. Those are the 3 places that I go and get my clothes, because I also shop for the kids' clothes there, so it's like a 2-in-1 kind of thing. My favorite is H&M, because they always have really cute clothes and they're really affordable. I like Target too, because they do have their sales every once in a while, and you could use your Target cart app to always get really good deals. So I do like Target. I used to work at Old Navy, so I'm really familiar with a lot of their stuff, and I know I can get certain pieces there all year long if I need a specific thing. Target too, they carry a lot of the same things all year long, so if you need a specific thing, you can always find it there. That is why I really enjoy those places. Her next question was, if I could travel anywhere in the world, where would I go? If I could travel anywhere in like the actual world, I think I would go travel to Portugal. I would want to take my dad and my mom and my sister. I would want us all to go so we can meet family and just see where we come from. I've never been like across the world. I've never actually left the United States. I've never been to Alaska. I went on a cruise to like Mexico, but I don't even think it's technically Mexico. I still think it's part of California. So I really haven't like left the United States. I've never gotten a stamp on my passport or even had to use my passport. So I think that traveling would be super duper fun. I wouldn't want to travel when my kids can't really appreciate or remember what they're seeing. Yes, I like to vlog and I take a lot of pictures that they would be able to look back on, but I really want, when we go do something like this as a family, like a big trip like that, I really want them to be able to remember it in some form, not just look at pictures, but actually have like memories of it. Hopefully one day we will be able to travel as a family. I would really want to go to like Portugal and Spain and then into France and then up into Ireland, because I do have like family genes that come from Ireland, so that would really be fun for me, and I hope one day that I will be able to do it. Our last question was, are you hoping for a girl or baby boy? Honestly, I would be fine with either. I feel like for me, girls are so much easier. Like, I can relate to girls easier, I can take care of girls easier, I know what to do with girls. With my son, I find it on a daily basis. I am having to question myself if I am parenting the right way or doing the right things, because he is a boy stuck in between girls. My husband really wants a boy, so part of me wants to have another boy. I go back and forth, but either way, I would be really happy. The next question is from Sarah M. She said, do you and Juan follow a monthly budget? Any tips on saving with one income? We are still trying to figure out how to budget our life 100%. I feel like it's always changing because there are always things coming up in life. Like, there are months where it is easier for us to put money aside, and then there's months where we don't get to put any money aside, and then there's months where we have to take from the money we've set aside to do things like put new tires on the car or put new brake pads on our car. So it's always kind of changing, and there are months, you know, where we have more, and there are months when we have less. It was really hard in the beginning when we went from 2 incomes to 1, because we did have 2 incomes up until halfway through my pregnancy with our youngest. When we did have 2 incomes, it was a little bit different because we didn't A, have as much bills as we have now, and B, Juan wasn't making as much as he was making now. It kind of evens out to what we were making with our 2 incomes. He's now making in his income by himself. But the hard part about his job now is that it fluctuates. Like, sometimes he works a lot. Like, if you guys watch some of my older vlogs, for 6 weeks he was gone. Monday through Friday he was gone. And that was really, really rough. But now, the last month, he's only worked like 2 or 3 days a week. So our income has drastically shifted this last month, which was really hard because we had Christmas and things like that. But the good thing is that we did have money set aside that we were able to use. The key with finances, and I'm not an expert, 100%. Not an expert, I am learning as we go, is that when we can set money aside, to set it aside, and when we can't, we can't. I feel like with finances, you have to really pay attention because you cannot let it affect your relationship. If you start to let it affect your marriage relationship, it is a downfall, because money is money. It's gonna be there and it's not gonna be there, and it's gonna come and it's gonna go, and you're gonna die one day and you're not gonna be able to take that money with you. So it's really hard not to let it affect you, because money is what sustains us and money is what gives us the things we have. I totally understand that, yet you also sometimes need to take a step back and just be appreciative of everything you have. My biggest tip is just to get a monthly budget. We write down everything that we need to pay that month, which is like our normal bills, like utility, our rent, our car payment, our car insurance, our cable, our cell phone bills. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. But we set everything that we need to like make a payment to. We write that all down and we budget for it. And then we write down everything that we need, like food wise. Like, we set X amount of money a month for food, and we set X amount of money for gas. So every month I know that we use X amount of money, and I know how much we make. So those months that we make above X amount, I set so much aside, and those months that we only make X, then we just live off of X. She also asked one more question. She said, do you have any tips on keeping a marriage fresh with kiddos? You and Juan seem to be connected, and I know you've mentioned mommy and daddy time before, and that y'all make time for each other during the week. Love your channel, by the way. Well, thank you for following along with our journey, first of all. We had months when the baby was little, and she was sleeping in our bed, and Juan would go sleep on the couch, and I would be so tired I wouldn't wake up to get him, and then he would leave for work in the morning, and I wouldn't see him till he got home at night, and then it was really chaotic with all the kids, and then he'd go back to sleep on the couch and I'd go back to sleep, and I feel like our marriage really took a toll. I don't think I really noticed it when we were going through it, but when we started to get out of it, I really noticed it, if that makes sense. When you're going through things, you kind of don't notice the strain it's putting on a marriage, but when you look back, you can see it. Our kind of little slope in the road was after Reagan was born. It was really hard for us to adjust to life with 3 kids and just the situations we were going through in life. It was really hard for us to adjust. But once Reagan started sleeping through the night and I stopped nursing and I was more of myself, I felt like I was able to give him more of myself, and that helped our marriage so much. And once the kids go to sleep, we really make an effort to spend time together, whether it's watching a movie or watching something that he wants to watch on YouTube or just talking about our day. We always make it a point to talk about our day. I love talking about my day, and I talk a lot, and sometimes he gets really annoyed that I can talk about the same thing for like an hour, as you guys all know because I do it in my videos. But I feel like even though sometimes he's really not listening, it helps us as a couple because we're at least spending time together and we're communicating with each other. Alongside with just communication, I think that having alone time together is big. Sometimes our alone time is only an hour and we'll go grocery shopping. Or my mom will take the kids and we'll be able to go to the movies by ourselves. Or we were able to go right before my birthday to LA for the weekend 100% by myself. All three of our kids were separated. They were all different places and they were all being loved and well taken care of, and we were able to go just spend time together with ourselves. And I know that that's not always the case for some people. They don't have people in their life or family close to them that they can watch their kids, or maybe because of work schedules, it's not always possible. So I seriously think that it's not about going somewhere or doing something. We get to go do something, but that is because we have to drive to take our kids somewhere. Like we have to drive 30-40 minutes to drop our kids off at my mom's or my sister's or his mom's. So we have to drive somewhere and drop them off, and then we get to do alone time. So if maybe our family lived closer to us, we could just drop them off and come home and spend time alone. That's not really an option for us because by the time we drove back, we would not be home very long and we would have to drive again. It's not necessarily about like going and doing something. It's just spending alone time, making each other's favorite dinner or watching each other's favorite movie for the 10th time. It's just about spending that alone time. And then Ashley asked, do you ever plan to move out of Fresno? I would love to move there because it is so cheap. But hubby says no. He is too comfortable where we are now. Do you plan on getting a bigger car? If so, what would it be? And do your kids know Spanish? So our kids know a little bit of Spanish. It's really hard, I feel, because I don't know Spanish, for Juan to talk to them in both English and Spanish because I don't understand anything. I understand a little bit, and like if I'm in a setting I can kind of see what's going on, but when people actually are having like conversations, I am absolutely 100% lost. And I can understand it more than I can speak it because I feel like I don't have like a good enough accent that when I try to speak Spanish, it just doesn't sound right. So I am slowly starting to learn. This past month, me and Juan were actually talking about it and how he wants to start teaching the kids Spanish. I know it's like a little bit late and we probably should have been teaching them from the start, but it's really hard because I don't know it, so it's hard for me to like push Juan to do it because I have no idea what he's saying. So we kind of sat down recently and we're talking about it, and he's slowly gonna start teaching us Spanish. And do we ever plan on moving out of Fresno? I like Fresno and I don't like Fresno. There's pros and cons to every place you live. We have everything we need here, meaning if I needed to go to the store, like things to do for the kids, there's a lot to do here as compared to where we grew up. But where we grew up is a smaller town, so everyone kind of knows each other and all our family is there. So we go back and forth all the time. We have decided that we do want to move back to where we grew up. We do like Fresno, although I would have to say if our family didn't live like 30 minutes away, like if they were hours away or like days away or like in a different state where it took us a long time to travel to get to them, I would have absolutely no problem staying in Fresno. But because our family is close enough, I want to be closer to them. Like I want to be in the same town as them, so that is why we want to move back to the town that I grew up in. Compared to other parts of California, like up north and like the San Francisco area and down south, like the LA area, it is a lot cheaper here, but compared to other states, it is very, very expensive to live in California, even here in Fresno. Like if you look at like some of the southern states and more on like the lower East Coast, it is very, like very cheap compared to here, and even more cheaper if you compare it to like San Francisco or LA. So it is cheaper compared to like, you know, other parts of California, but in comparison to other states, it's really not. And that is what kind of sucks because Juan wants to move like out of the state of California. He wants to move to like Utah or Idaho or Texas. Like he wants to move somewhere out of the state of California, and it is a conversation we have all the time because my family is here and most most of his family's here, and that would be moving away from like everything we know. But maybe one day we will move, or maybe we will stay. I have absolutely no idea what the future holds. And her last question is if we are going to be getting a bigger car, and the answer is yes. Right now we are holding off on getting a new car for a couple different reasons. The main one being we are trying to get a house before we get a new car. Now, plans are going to have to change if we get pregnant and I am due before we are in the process of buying a house, because we will not be able to have another child, a new baby, in the vehicles that we have now because they're both cars and they don't have a third row. We looked at a few different vehicles that all have third rows. Juan is really interested in looking into like test driving and seeing the price range on a new Volkswagen. It's called an Atlas. It hasn't even put into like full production yet. Like, you can't go to the lot and get it. He's done a lot of research on YouTube and like Googled all about it, and it is by Volkswagen and it has a third row. It kind of looks in between like a Jeep and a Range Rover. That's kind of like the style of it. It's about the same size as a Ford Explorer and it has a third row. So he's looking into that right now, but we won't be able to pick which vehicle we want until we are able to like look at it and like test drive it and see what it is like. If we do not go that route with the Volkswagen, we are looking at the Dodge. I think it's called a Durango. I may be wrong on that one. We are looking at the whatever the Dodge SUV is that has a third row, and we are also looking into a Tahoe and an Explorer. My mom has a Tahoe and my first car was a Tahoe, so I personally like Tahoes, but I'm not sure if we're going to go with that because we were looking for something a little bit smaller, not so big. But those are what we are planning on getting. We are just kind of waiting. We don't necessarily need to go out right now and purchase a new vehicle because that would not be smart. We still have one car that we are paying on, and it will be paid off sometime between like summer and fall. It will be paid off. So we are just kind of holding on tight and waiting for that to get paid off, which even if I got pregnant like tomorrow, we would be done paying off the car right before the baby would be born. So we're not too worried about it. We know that whenever we either get a house or we are pregnant and kind of wind down towards the end of our pregnancy, we are going to be getting a new car. We're just not worrying about it right now because it's not a top priority, because it would not be smart of us to go out and get another payment when we are so close to paying off the one that we already have. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this video, and thank you guys all so much for putting your questions in my last video. Give this video a big thumbs up if you guys enjoy things like this, and if you guys are new, click the red subscribe button down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!